Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you for joining me today for another card making video, and today I'm going to be doing I'm going to be crafting as I go kind of thing. There's no pre-prepared sample on this, and this is for a little colour challenge. So this is Vicky Lou Designs, who she posts a new challenge each Monday, and this time around we've got Sweet Sorbet, Pool Party and Parakeet Party. Okay, so those are the colours that we're working with, and like I say, I'm not going to I haven't got a pre-prepared sample, we're just going to go with it. So having a bit of a think, and really it does scream florals when you have a green with the colour. It does, and if I was in the mood for Christmas, it could say Christmas as well. This is quite a nice combination for bright Christmas cards as well. So there's something to think about. So you could easily do poinsettias and things like that with that. So with these colours in mind, I thought this was an opportunity to bring out Beautifully Happy again. This is one of our celebration sets, which is only going to be available till the end of this month. So with a qualifying order. So I think this is with a £90 order because it's a full stamp set. So if you spend £90, this is one of the items that you can select as a free option if it's still available. I don't actually know whether it's still available or not, but it will let you know if it isn't. So that's that. We do have sentiments with it, but I've also pulled out the Something Fancy bundle, quite like this, and I thought we might do Happy Birthday. We've got the coordinating dies, and we also have Best Family Ever. That's a stamp set so these are from the new mini catalogue. I say new, probably not that new now, but it's from the current mini catalogue. So we've got an option to personalise this, but not super sure whether we'll use this one or that one. But these are the ideas that sort of mulling around at the moment with what we're going to do. So, so this is a photopolymer stamp set. Okay, so when you get your photopolymer stamp sets, they always come in like these sort of DVD style cases, which are great for storage, and you can sort of see on the spine what it's called, and you know, a quick look at the pictures in there, the images I should say, pictures. The front of this is actually shown at 85%, so the images are a little larger, and for this one we ended up with images on both sides. A lot of the time there's just images printed on this side. Have I got one handy? This one maybe. Yeah. So this one's only got images printed on this side. Okay. The Clink ones won't have that. And you get your sheet, you pull them apart, and I tend to keep the thinner little sheet just to protect them from dust and dander and stuff like that as well. So, but that is just me being me. You don't have to keep that layer at all. So for this particular set, they've decided to put the line art in one and the sort of more solid images, because it is a two-step stamp. You can use it like that. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to colour with blends today. Let's do that. Okay, so we can just lift that up and pull out our images that we want to use. And they're just sort of, they're not sticky, they're just sort of tacky, if you like. Grab a block. So I'm going to need an E-block for this to stamp it comfortably. So I'm going to grab one of those and just press that onto the block. I don't think I'm going to pull out anything else just for now. We'll just leave it like that. And that's that. And then to stamp, like I say, I think what I'm going to do is use blends. So I'm going to pop these ink pads out of the way. I just wanted to show you the colours really. That was the best way to do it. So with blends, you need to use a water-based product to stamp your line art. So that would be Memento Tuxedo Black. For large images, I think it's easier to take your ink pad to the stamp, but most of the time I do it the other way around. I just push my especially for the classic inks, they're a sort of they've got a different sort of pad on them. This is a felt pad. It's quite stiff and is quite good for this kind of inking with the with the ink pad, whereas the classic inks have like a sponge, and you only have to tap ever so lightly to get your coverage, so it's a lot easier to present your stamp to the ink pad. So the chances are we're going to cut this down a little bit, so I'm just going to aim for the centre of this piece of basic white cardstock. So what I do is I'll sit and have a bit of a cutting session, as it were, especially if I'm having a bit of a blank moment, not really sure what I'm going to make. I'll sit and cut some cardstock ready. So I have a whole bunch of this basic white cut to 4 by 5 3/4, which means they're ready to go when I need to stamp and layer onto a card. You'll notice that I'm using some of the small grid paper today as well, so the blends soak through the cardstock, and they are supposed to do that. That is absolutely normal. So just to protect the surface and just give the blends that opportunity to work, I'm just going to use like I say, the grid paper. Now, I haven't used the Sweet Sorbet and Parakeet Party blends that much. So this is the dark marker, bullet tip and brush tip. And what I do find is that it's a good idea to test out your pens and have a little look at what they look like. So the brush nibs are coming out darker than the bullet tips, which is usual, if I have to say. Okay, all right. Which is helpful when we're just looking at how we're going to shade our image. All right. I'll bring you in a little bit actually. Okay, so bullet brush dark, and then bullet brush with the light. And you can see that not so much with the bullet tips, but you can see a little bit of a difference between the two ends within the markers. Okay, so it's just interesting to bear that in mind, and it just gives you that other level of sort of shading, if you like. So if we're going to start with our dark colours, then I'm actually going to use my dark brush nib, and I'm going to colour in those. So these little buds are going to be, when they're all sort of closed up, they kind of have an intensity of colour, don't they, in nature. So just going to pop some of that in there without sort of fussing too much. And then the other blooms, I'm looking to drop that into where there's going to be shadows and petals underneath everything else. So it's going to be darker where those sepals come in. This petal's underneath there, that petal's underneath there, that petal's underneath there. So we're just going to drop that in. I'm not going to be super fussy about it. This one sort of, these ones are sitting behind the ones that are coming up in the front of the image. We've just got this sort of crease. Centres will be darker. So I'm not being too fussy with this one. I'm just going to go through the veins and make sort of a starry kind of shape on there. That's all the flowers. Oh, okay. So now when we bring in our lighter marker, I'm just going to fill in the white that I left on these ones. Super subtle, but it just adds another little level. And then we can fill in this one. And this one. So I've opted to go with the bullet tip of the lighter marker just to give us that real definition between the light and the dark markers. Okay, we can always go back in and intensify the dark bits afterwards. If you feel it's been overworked. So just colouring in. Okay, and you know what? The shading's kind of optional really. I just thought it'd be nice to do a little bit of, I'm going to say fancy. It's not really very fancy, but a bit of time to colour, have a bit of kind of, let my brain sort of relax a little bit. It's been an intense week. So again, just going to go over these petals, working from these larger images. I'm going to work in from the edge and bring it down to meet that darker colour. Okay, and there's going to be a bit of a line there by the looks of it, so might take a little bit more work just to get this to blend a little bit more. We might come in with the brush tip of this marker just to help with that transition. Okay, but for the time being, I'm just going to go around this bit, bring it in, get it moving again. They are starting to move around a little bit. So where that alcohol meets what was already there, it's going to start sort of wanting to sort of move it around. So now if I come in a little bit with the brush marker, the brush end of this lighter marker, and maybe use the bullet point of the darker one. And start to get that moving a little bit more. With red pens, you're more likely to get a bit of bleed outside your lines, so just be careful when you're getting towards the edges of your images. You might find that you start to get a bit of bloom from the outside. Okay, which you may or may not want. Just be mindful of that. Okay, and if you decide you want some more colour on your other images, then go ahead and add it. Okay, right, so that's still drying back a little bit at the moment, but oh, I hope I was in shot. Was I in shot? I hope it was. So that's going to start drying back. Okay, I might even put a little bit more of the dark right in the centre there as well. You can sort of stipple it around and that kind of thing. So now we're pretty much going to rinse and repeat with the Parakeet Party. So again, I'm just going to, oop, that one's a bit stiff. The brush nib comes out darker, look. So that's the dark marker. And sometimes you find, if you've used markers, so okay, so that's interesting, isn't it? If you've used markers a bit more, so I have used this one for some backgrounds and the ink hasn't distributed as evenly because I've been using the one end, you see. So actually the darkest is actually that one, the brush tips there. Okay, so let's do that. Right, brush tip then. So again, I'm going to drop something into these little leaves and sepals at the top, and we'll just fill in any white gaps with the other marker. And again, we're looking at where there's overlap and where there might be some darkness, you know, where the veins sort of light on those leaves. Okay, so that's what we're doing, and I'm not going to overthink it at all. I'm just going to pop that in. Nature's not perfect. I think I sort of say that. I think I did, what did I use? I think I used watercolour pencils last time I used this image. And you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So again, I'm just gonna, it's gonna be that sort of behind, you know what I mean? It's like depth of field, I guess, as you would call it in photography. It's further back, so it's going to be a little bit more in shadow, so you want a bit more of the dark there maybe. Okay, so I think I'll leave it at that. And the ink layers as well, so if you go over this, it's going to make it a little darker. So if you want that intensity, you can do it. And then I'm going to use the light brush tip there just to catch any little white bits and fill in, just like I did with the sweet sorbet. Now that looks like it's gonna blend quite nicely. And if you think, like I say, if it feels like it's blended too much and you've lost the definition, you can add some more of the darker marker. There we are. My colouring in concentrating face, if you could see my face. Okay, that colour looks actually really good. I have to say, the Parakeet Party I wouldn't say is one of my favourite colours. It looks nice with this though. So again, we can intensify some portions of this if you feel like it needs it. Go over it again. And fuss with it as much as you want. And if you don't want to, don't. There we are. I think I might want to make those a little darker, I think. And then just put a little more of this light marker in. Not all the way to the edge, I just want to keep some of that light. That will do nicely. So there you are. That's cool, right? Now we could go around the edge of this in. Oh, I've missed a bit. It's alright. We'll just drop in that dark colour there. I always find that with these images. I always find I miss a bit. We could go around the edge with a bit of pool party as well. Do this sometimes. So what I do is I use the lightest marker and I just sort of go around the edge. Not particularly carefully. And then if you go around with a colourless blender, you don't have to be super precise for here. You'd be surprised how much of a difference it makes. It's totally optional. Don't have to do this at all. So if it's too fussy for you, don't do it. Okay. Fill in those bits. Go around there. So I'm not being super careful. Go round, and it'll be really light, and you'll barely see it. But then if you go round with a colourless blender as well, that will really sort of diffuse out and give you like this shadow, which, believe it or not, just helps it pop from the page. It's the most bizarre thing, but really will help it stand out. Now that's going to look a bit funny because the alcohol's still wet, so you've got like that grey sort of hue around it at the moment where the alcohol's still wet. See how it bleeds through? Perfectly normal, that is. Okay, but it just helps it come away from the basic white cardstock. So we've got options to cut this out. Okay, so let me just bring in a white card base. I think I want to go kind of nice and crisp and clean with this. Okay, bring in my bond folder. And just give that a nice sharp crease along that top fold, and just make sure I've got all my edges all nice and straightened out. Sometimes when you cut with the blade, you just get a little bit of a ridge on there, so just make sure that that's all nice and crisp and sharp. And if you do a nice sharp crease, your card will stand up even with a tenfold. Okay, so there we go. So we've got our image, which could go straight on the front and be really super simple. So we could totally do that. Okay, so I've used all three colours now anyway, so we could leave it there, and that would be super fantastic if that's what you want to go for. All right, okay. I don't generally do just super plain like that, and I thought I would use a rectangle die of some description to cut out the image. Okay, so this is an old stamp case that I had and what I've done is I've put some magnetic sheet in, and I've got my stitched rectangles in here. I've also got the Stitch with Whimsy. So these aren't dies per se, but they add some decorative detail into the back of into your cardstock. And then I've got the decal rectangles. Quite fancy using the decals today. So then we just want to have a look at which one will fit. That'll do. So maybe we do the decal like that, and then we want the next size up, maybe, to do some layering. Okay, so we'll have that kind of, I suppose it gives it that sort of torn paper look, I guess. Okay, the magnetic sheets aren't a Stampin' Up product, they're just some things that I use to keep sets that don't really go with anything. They're not a part of a bundle or whatever, and they're kind of to hand. Same with my stylish shapes, so I keep those on a magnetic sheet so I can just grab them rather than trying to find them in a cupboard or whatever. Okay, but I mean, so white card base, but we could equally have gone with card bases in any of the other cardstock colours. Okay, so let's and if you don't have dies and you don't have a die cut machine, then you could of course just trim it down with a paper trimmer, which you see me do loads if you watch the channel regularly. And again, I've got loads of sort of layers that are pre-cut, ready to go, so that sort of saves me a bit of time. I'll do my thinking. Okay, die cut machine's always on my desk. Number 1 plate and number 2 for you always need your number 1 no matter what you're going to do. And for thin die embossing, these are thin dies, you need your embossing plate, and then you need to sandwich your project between two number 3 plates. Let's just reposition that, shall we? It is very low tack. It's just some washi tape that's been it's retired washi tape. This, I dread to think how long I've had this roll of washi tape, to be honest with you. Oh gosh, what sweet would that would have been? Whew, no idea. No idea. Had it a long time though. Right, I'm going to run that through. Like so. Yeah, it sticks to the plate, but that's fine. That's just the pressure of the plate there. And we end up with that, which again we could sort of sponge around the edge with so I bet we could enhance that a little bit with a sponge dauber. I'm just using the residual ink on this light blue brush, which is probably a mix of all sorts of colours, but you get the idea. You can give that a little bit of a run over with that. And if I grab that car base now, even though that's only white on white, but with that just that little hint of ink around the edge, it does help it pop out. So again, we could stop there, but we won't. Of course we won't. Just pop that to one side. Some scrap there. So I've already cut out. Well, I've already got these bits of I'm going to say scrap, but you know what I mean. Pieces of cardstock. Now I think I'm going to lean towards doing a pool party layering for this. But just so that you can see, right, we could go with Sweet Sorbet. I really feel like that's going to really overpower the red. And equally, I think we're going to end up with green overpowering everything as well. Okay, so my gut feeling is that the pool party is going to be the best option for our layering. Okay, which I think will work out just fine. So we can do that, but you can decide what you like best. If you wanted to have all that additional colour, you go for it. The other thing is as well that we can add some ribbon. Now again, we have ribbon in all of those colours. So there's the oh man, what is it called? I don't know what the name of it is. Let me grab a spoon. Ooh. Metallic woven ribbon, they call it. Okay, so this happens to be the Sweet Sorbet colour. Okay, which is a bit more of a pinky colour, I would say. It's not an exact match to the ink, I would say, but we do have the option to use this. This is available in Parakeet Party, well, all the ink colours, those ink colours which Parakeet Party and Sweet Sorbet are part of. So that would also be Starry Sky, Tahitian Tide and Orchid Oasis. Let's cut this die. But in the mini we also have, well, okay, let's start again. The annual catalogue has some Pool Party sheer ribbon, and then the mini we've got some Pool Party grow grain ribbon. So I think we're going to go with the grow grain because it's the newer one. I want to get it used before it retires. It's not it's reasonably uncommon for ribbons and other embellishments to carry over from mini catalogues into annual catalogues, whereas the Pool Party, the sheer ribbon might stick around for a bit. So this is the grow grain ribbon. but if you've got the sheer ribbon, that would work too. Okay, but we're going to probably use that, I would say. So this can go on there, so it's a much deeper layer than I would normally use. I usually have like really skinny layers on my cards. And again, those of you who watch regularly will know what I mean. So I think that looks best that way round. My glue of choice is Stampin' Seal, so let's pop that down like that. Okay, and then we've got that to go onto a white card base. All right. Okay, so that's where we're going. We've also got our ribbon that we can add to this too. Grab my ribbon scissors, so I use these big sharper scissors. So I'm going to cut a couple of lengths because I'm probably going to add a bow, and I also want to wrap it round. So we'll cut a couple of those already. But we need to decide what we're going to do sentiment wise. So I pulled out, what did I pull out? Pulled out something fancy because we've got that happy birthday there. We've got loads that we could use actually. I've used a thankful a lot. Thank you a lot. I mean, it could be, could do a nice bright sympathy bird, but I quite like the happy birthday on there as well as something really subtle. And you know what? It might end up being black just to make it pop a little bit. And maybe we don't personalise it, we just have something really nice and subtle on there. So obviously that's going to be back to front, but you know, it's going to be, look, something like that. These are the coordinating dies for this set, so let's have a look at what that little, you can so totally like just cut a strip, right? But this is going to mean that I don't have to stamp it straight. Right. Okay, which is a good thing if you're using a punch or something with stamps, especially cling stamps. You sort of remove that pressure to get it all straight. So we'll pop that onto one of these little blocks. This is a G block, which is cute for these little sentiments. Scrap bin. I keep anything that might remotely come in useful, especially for things like skinny sentiments like this. So that's going to be perfect. Let's just use that. Bring in our Memento ink because I think we need that pop. Just making sure that that's well inked. Like I say, with this felt pad, you just want to be absolutely sure that you've got it all nice and inked. So aim sort of in the middle and sort of straight. But like I say, because we're going to put the die over the top, we can sort of adjust for any wonkiness, and it just so happens I've stamped that quite straight. So there you go. When the pressure's off, and that's always the case, right? So again, a bit of washi just to pop over the top of that. And so you could easily, and not, you've seen me do this before, stamp on strips and just cut them on a wonk. So we'll just pop that through. Of course, that would fit all of the something fancy dies fit through the mini stamping cut and emboss. But big boss is here, ready to go. So we'll just use him and just release that from the cast. That's just me being clumsy. Like that, you see. Make sure I don't lose that. So this is what I call dry building it. I kind of know where I'm going with something, but I just want to be able to be sure about it. So let's do that, do that. Okay, bow there. Yep. Okay, so that's kind of my process when I'm sort of having a look at this thing. And you know what, I might go a bit crazy with some dimensionals as well on this one. So I would probably stick that flat 9 times out of 10 if I'm just going to add the sentiment with dimensionals as well, but let's just do it. Right, running so this sheet of dimensionals is almost done, but never fear, these edge strips are brilliant for this sort of thing. So I'm just going to use those. So it's all the same stuff, so just use it up. And I might put one of these little teeny ones in the middle just to make sure, because what we want to do is just wrap some of this ribbon round there as well. So you can secure that with whatever you like. Now I tend to just use my stamping seal for that. Bring it round to the front, so it looks like it's straightish. Okay, you could cut away some of that excess, but no one's going to know it's there, apart from you and me. So if you don't mind, this is a bit of a longer video, but it kind of just shows you the whole lot from start to finish about what I do and how I kind of have a think about what I'm going to make. Okay, so that's going to go on the front of our card, comme ça. It's a little high, but it's fine. And then we can add our, actually, do you know what, we'll tie the bow first. Tie the bow, bunny ears, 2 loops, and then just you do a simple knot around and under. Doesn't that ties a really nice bow, nice and tight, and then mess about with your bow to get it the size you want, because I don't want it massive. You want your loops to be evenish. I like sticking mine with glue dots, so we'll just pop one of those on the back of that knot there. Just press it and it lifts off. And we can pop that on our card where we want it. Something like that. I'm just going to cut those tails, so just hold them together. Excuse me. Ooh, bless me. Cut them together like that, and that means that they'll be nice and even. And then we can use mini dimensionals. Just trying to find my little where's my pokey tool gone? This just helps you sort of pick up these little tiny ones, because they are small. So we'll just grab a couple of those. Off that release paper like that. And we can pop that on there. In fact, I might have it tuck in underneath that. That's nice. I'll have a bit of it showing underneath. means it breaks the border a little bit as well. So there we have it, our colour challenge card. We could add some Winker Stella to it as well if you wanted to, just a little bit, just to enhance those flowers a little bit. Cool, all done. That was a colour challenge with Sweet Sorbet, Parakeet Party and Pool Party, all the parties, using the Beautifully Happy Celebration stamp set. Hope you enjoyed that, a bit longer video, but I thought we'll just do it for you there. As ever, please do like and subscribe, share this with your friends. Do appreciate all the support that you give this channel. I hope you're staying safe, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.